How you doing, everyone? Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Love Lessons in Marriage. And today we have an amazing couple that we cannot wait to share in their story and their experience. We have Burt and Marge Norris, who've been married for just months shy of 50 years.
Yeah.
And man, I'm sure they have a wealth of knowledge and experience that they can share with us. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring Burt and Marge in.
Hello, Burt and Marge. Welcome.
Oh,
Thank you for, of course. Thank you for joining us. We can't wait to hear your journey. Almost 50 years. Congratulations. That's such an accomplishment. I'm sure, there's been a lot of life that's happened in that amount of time, and we can't wait to hear it. So thank you for coming on and sharing that with us.
God.
So let's dive right in. Let's get into you guys' story. A very amazing love story. I had a lot of fun, you guys telling it back to us. Burt, you're claiming that you heard part of it for the first time today.
From the women's perspective, it's always different. You might see things one way, but the other way is like, no, that's not how what happened.
Man, oh man. Okay.
The females tend to remember all the details too.
Yep.
Oh man. Okay, so as you guys are representing your sweatshirts, Oakwood University, at the time it was Oakwood College, and that's where you met.
Correct.
Marge, you born and raised in Philly, so you are East Coast girl, Philly girl. Burt from the Midwest, up in Denver is where you were coming from. So you weren't on each other's scopes at all, but you met down at a small Black college in Alabama.
Right.
And at the time, you both came in and had been there for a whole year together without knowing each other. You were dating different people. Burt was dating so-and-so, Marge was dating, we'll call him John Doe. And so even in that first year, you weren't in each other's orbits yet. And Marge, you told me it was the next year, and there was a chapel happening in the girls' dorm. And that chapel was about relationships.
Yes.
Okay. And at the end of the chapel, talking about dating and relationships, a group of girls continued the conversation. And it went from a glorious chapel to almost a complaint fest.
Yes, it was, a grudge session.
A grudge session, okay. And you were discontent about how guys were on campus and the things they did. One complaint was, if a guy wanted to go out on Saturday night, he wouldn't ask you until Saturday night. And you're saying, why didn't they plan ahead? Why weren't they more considerate? Why are all these guys, and a number of other grudges?
Yes.
And so you were there, you were speaking, and there was a young lady in the crowd who had a brother. And she was like, wait a second, all the guys on campus aren't like this. My brother is not like that.
He's a dear. He's considerate. He would never do anything like that.
And so you just not really inquiring, but you were just like, well, who's your brother?
Well, I didn't say it to her. I waited till after she left. And then I said to my friends, who was her brother?
Okay, because she was talking him up.
I wasn't trying to find out really who her brother was. I was just being a smart aleck, like,
Yeah. Who does she think he is and all that? Okay. But then she mentioned who it was. You didn't really know him at first, but then it was like, oh, he was dating so-and-so. And then you understood and you said, okay, that's that quiet guy. So Burt, you were quiet. You didn't even catch her attention. You were so quiet.
No,
well, we weren't in the same circle.
Exactly. And plus, at Oakwood, well, at least back then, you had probably a status system going on. This group of guys who went to Pine Forge,
The cool ones.
who were the cool guys.
Yeah.
And then you had another layer. So I wasn't on that top layer. I didn't go to Pine Forge,
Okay.
I came from Denver, Colorado, way out there. Nobody, if you were from past, Illinois, you were way out there.
Yeah.
There were a handful of us from California or, from Colorado. So
Gotcha.
that was probably another reason. See, those guys, most of the girls, of course, would be interested in the top echelon.
Oh, okay.
I remember when I had my high school reunion. So I went to high school with this a girl called Pam Grier, the actress.
Yes.
Did all those
Okay.
black, when she was in my
Yes.
class.
Wow.
Foxy Brown.
So when we had, it was like a 20-year reunion, we went back and we were talking, and she said, well, yeah, you were one of those guys who wouldn't ask us out on a date. And I thought to myself, yeah, I'm one of those guys that you wouldn't have went out on a date because you were chasing all the athletes and everybody else. But, that's, that's what happened.
Okay.
Oh, that's funny.
That is hilarious. So in the meantime, okay, so Marge, you knew who he was. Marge, you had a boyfriend. And not only did you have a boyfriend, but you just felt like you weren't in love with him and you were looking for more. So you were there, you were in that relationship, you were looking for more, and you were actually praying and asking God, what is missing? I need more. In the meantime, Marge, you also loved basketball. And you grew up in Philadelphia, you went to 76ers games. They said security wasn't as tight back then. So taking pictures with Wilt Chamberlain, you and your friends standing right by the bench. And you were just huge basketball.
The players didn't know we were taking pictures with them. We would just like run up behind them and the other one would take.
Oh, so you were taking a picture with them, but they weren't taking the picture with you.
So the sneaking photos.
Okay. And so just a huge basketball fan. So you get to college and you and your friends say, let's go to a basketball game there at Oakwood. And lo and behold, Burt, you're a baller, right?
Yes.
And you were like, oh, hey, there's Peggy's brother, and he can play ball. He's good. And so he was quiet. You didn't notice him, but now you see him on the basketball court. And Burt, your skills got you some airtime. That's hilarious. And so after that, that was nothing. You still are in different orbits. And one day you guys were, I'm assuming in the cafeteria, you were eating. And Marge, you were with your boyfriend, you were eating. Burt, you were sitting somewhere else. And you looked over and your eyes met. And then you sat there and no one wanted to move their eyes and it turned into a staring contest. Okay. And so John Doe is there eating his food, talking, who are you looking at? Asking you, his girlfriend, who are you looking at?
Nobody in particular.
Nobody in particular. Okay. So, oh my goodness. So nothing happened. No words were exchanged. And then a little bit later, you guys, one was coming out of a class and one was waiting to go into a class, science class or something. And then all of a sudden the staring began again.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when he came out, he asked me if I was going to come to their game.
So Burt, you had to use what you had. Are you coming to the game tonight?
I was like, I don't know, because I did a lot of homework. But you know what? But I did wind up though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bert's balling over there now.
And so even though all of this was going on, and even though, you were kind of circling around each other, and now first contact was made and you asked her to come to the game. And you said that after that, there was a movie on campus. And again, Marge, you were at the movie with John Doe.
Yes.
And Burt, you came up and captured her attention from behind. You kind of got her attention.
Yes.
Marge, you excused yourself to go to
this back of my neck.
Oh, I hope all the single fellas noticed that. Okay, that's how you say hello. Okay. And so when you saw him and he did that, you went out, you told John Doe, I'll be back, going to the bathroom. You guys left the movie, went out in the hallway to talk. Okay, you never made it to the bathroom. And you talked. It was clear you weren't going back. And eventually intermission or something happened and John Doe came looking for you and saw you, and it was like, uh-oh.
So I went back in and sat down.
Okay. But by then you had known that this is not, he's not going to be. And so you very politely invited John Doe over and you let him know very kindly and straightforward and honest, this is not what I'm looking for. And you said he was very gracious.
Yes.
And he said, okay, if you change your mind, give me a call.
Yes.
And you said you have spoken to him 0 times since. You never got that phone call.
And you were 19 at this point?
Yes.
And you have been talking ever since.
You were 19, you're now 72, you've been inseparable since.
Mhm.
And there was a bit of drama because at the time, Burt, with you in school, Oakwood didn't have a lot of grants, a lot of money. And your mother said, you're gonna have to transfer to another school that would give you better financial aid.
Right.
That school was in California, La Sierra.
Right.
And so now all of a sudden, Marge, just like, I just met this guy, we just start talking. And you said you had to wear sunglasses because you were boohooing because now all of a sudden Burt's leaving. And Burt, you had the wise idea of saying, ask your mom if you could come. Ask your mom if you could come to California. And what mother in Philadelphia would let her daughter follow some boy she just met to California to school? But you said your mother saw that this was different and she said yes.
Yes.
And so you guys both transferred out to California. But in the meantime, you know, this was a different time. So no cell phones. You wrote letters all summer long, stayed in contact, writing letters, and then you reunited on the West Coast. And 3 years later, you were married.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. And so in June, it will be 50 years. And now there are 2 daughters and 4 granddaughters and 2 great grandsons.
Yes.
Wow, what an amazing love story. Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. So after all of that time and that amazing beginning experience and this voyage together, you guys have this lasting relationship of almost 50 years. And let me just ask, what do you love about your marriage?
Yeah. Well, you know, at this point in time, since, you know, it's been, like you said, almost 50 years, you start to understand, you know, what marriage is really about. When God said it's not good for a man to be alone, he needs a help meet. And that help meet, of course, is with you throughout your lifetime. And not only are they helping meeting whatever comes away, but also they're allowing you to look at an individual from a different perspective. We have a tendency to grade everything by how we feel or what our experience has been. But when you're with someone else, you have to realize, you know, that they're also looking from their point of view, from their perspective. Mm-hmm. And so you have to understand that. And I think that's why, you know, we have this Godhead, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And we talk about those 3 being one mind, one purpose. And the marriage was set up to replicate a similar relationship as the Godhead has. And when you're with someone and you are going through different situations, situations that involving you personally or involving your helpmeets personally, you become involved in all that, and you see, I think, how the individual mind not only responds, but then the individual watching how they are responding, you know, to that same situation. And so I think for our marriage, it has allowed us over the period of years, no matter what, you know, we've situations we've come through, we wouldn't call anything conflict, maybe more or less of a challenge. Because, you know, I think conflicts arise more when an individual looks at themselves and it has to be my way, or, you know, I know the best, you know, way, and then they try to force that perspective on the other. But you have to try to realize that each of you or each of us is going through a character development. See, from God's point of view, he's trying to develop your character so that you will be prepared. See, he's going and preparing a place for us, but he's coming back for a prepared people. So once you start realizing that, and realizing just like you have your ups and downs, they're going to have their ups and downs, and to be able to deal with it without, you know, looking at someone else and thinking, well, that situation is better, or if this wouldn't have happened, this would have been better. Because usually those situations, you know, would not have been better. And so I think with the way Marge's attitude is in her family, you know, there's one thing about marriage, that is, you got to understand you're just not marrying the individual. see that you're marrying the family too.
Yeah.
And I had an opportunity to, to spend more time with the family, and I could see, a lot of good qualities that were there. And so, and that was reflected in the way Marge acted and responded. And so I think, I didn't, it's funny though, one time at Oakwood, Marge was ironing, I'd ironed some of my shirts.
Okay.
This was something, and I remember watching her come and walking up there with my shirts, being ironed, and I'm thinking now, what are individuals looking at? What are they thinking?
Yeah.
But when I saw that, I saw, okay, she's not caring if she gets back to the door and say, well, why come you were taking so-and-so shirts, ironing his shirts? What does that mean?
Yeah.
But that she had it, that it was in her mind. This is something.
Yeah.
This is something. And so I pray, because you're amongst all these individuals, and you seeing this one, you seeing that one, and sometimes you're looking elsewhere thinking, well, this might be better. But I prayed and I said, well, Lord, you know what's best.
Yeah.
You know what I need. And so you guide and direct. And he guided and directed us. And so and so I think that foundation, had a lot to do with the longevity. Plus, in our time, see, divorce was not something that that was the option, the number one option. Yeah. It was, it was very rare, growing up, if the parents were divorced, they would stay there, until the kids were grown or something. But but in our day and time, the majority of people get married wind up getting divorced. So, so we were in a different era. And so, we try to, as I say, our home has been founded, spiritually, on God. And so when you have that connection, see, that allows any other things that come up to be judged against. See, so when you have that connection, then it's a little easier to swallow your tongue or swallow your pride or whatever it takes. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, because I think this is such a good exercise, especially for people that have been married a long time, because you just go about your day like, oh yeah, he's my husband, and I love him and everything.
Yeah.
What is it that you really love about your marriage? And so we actually, I actually typed out some things, because I'm the organizer. Like if somebody gives me to me, it's like an assignment. I have to type it out, And so these are some of the other things that we came up with besides what Burt said. One of the things that we are just so amazed at how God has blessed us, that it's endured so long. And I have people go, you've been married to the same person that long. Yes, and it doesn't seem like it's been that long.
Wow.
In our marriage, we have a lot of joy and a lot of laughter. We won't even share the crazy things that we do. Nobody needs to know, the things that you do in your home. But, a lot of joy and a lot of laughter. And he also mentioned, because we have two exceptional daughters that God has blessed because of our union, and then this amazing granddaughter that is growing up, knowing the Lord. So that was something else. And the fact that we're actually still in love.
Wow.
Those touches, like the touch that it gave me on my neck, that, and it felt so special. Those touches still feel special. It's not like, it's not like that. It's just, we're just basking in one another's love. And especially since now there are no kids and we have an empty nest, and that's a whole nother thing too.
Okay.
When you have kids, especially the mother's attention is so much on the kids, so focused on the kids. But once they leave, you've got to look at each other in the face and go, who are you?
Right.
Where is our relationship?
Yeah.
A lot of times, wives, especially mothers, because we bond so closely with our babies. And sometimes we let it kind of that tightness that you have with your partner kind of slip away. And that's one of the things I would say to young mothers: don't let that happen. Make sure that you're including your partners in everything. The fact that we still have the same goal of living for Jesus and wanting to be with him forever is really critical in our marriage as well. Also, because see, I can go on and on and on.
I love this.
It's a limited time. So Burt is like,
no, I'm just like soaking it all in. I'm like, yes, more.
that also showed us what it would be like not to have one another. Because like when we moved from San Diego to the Pacific Northwest, I got a job first. I was a teacher in a public school. So then we decided we were going to sell our home. So Burt had to stay behind and sell our home and then pack everything up. And so that took a year and we were not together. Wow. You know, you might think, oh, I wish so-and-so wasn't here. I wish I had some time to myself. But when they're gone for a whole year, you know, we really miss them. And, you know, he would come up. I remember he surprised us one night, you know, and came up. But just that missing feeling. And then also when we moved actually to Colorado, we had our house built in 2019. And so in 2019, we were thinking it's going to be a few months and Burt was going to retire and he was going to be here with me. We really looked forward to that, but that didn't work out. And so it wound up 2 years that I was here in this house without him. And we were just missing each other. FaceTime really helped, you know. So we're past that age. You know, you don't have a cell phone, you know, so we're calling each other, we're FaceTiming each other. I look forward to every evening getting that FaceTime call. You know, and then I remember one time he couldn't get a hold of me and he got so worried. And the thing of it is, I had an old iPad and the sound wasn't good. So I put on my
headphones, the Bose.
So, you know, they cancel out the noise all around you. So Burt, I didn't know I had blown a fuse. I had my phone plugged in. I'm not getting any calls or anything. And so he called somebody from our church and they were banging on the front door. And I didn't hear him. I was looking at the new Mary Poppins, you know, my earset or earphones. I was in the bedroom. Anyway, I was looking at the clothes.
I think you were, because the heat, it was warmer in the closet.
Well, anyway, maybe so, because we got a big closet in the bedroom. So they couldn't get a hold of me. And so then all of a sudden I hear somebody banging on the bedroom window. And I turn the lights out because I'm scared. I was like, I knew here somebody's banging on the window. And I'm like, I don't know, we should call the police. And then I hear somebody banging on the front door again. And then I was like, I wonder if the house is on fire and somebody's trying to get me out. So I look out, but I don't recognize the car. And then all of a sudden I hear the garage door open because Burt had given our friends what is it?
The garage code to open the
garage.
Wow.
So they open the garage and I hear somebody call me by name. And then I was relieved because I knew it was somebody that knew me. And then I opened the door and said, girl, your boo is trying to get a hold of you.
Your boo.
And my girl's like, you need to get a security system and on and on and on. But, you know, just that feeling that something might be wrong and I'm not there, you know, so God gave us that. And so when we came together, you know, he's finally here. We just really appreciated that so much. And we thank God for showing us, because, you know, you always have your ups and downs and stuff. And, you know, you were like, oh, if I could just get away, but don't wish that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so good.
Whatever it is.
Thank you for joining us for part 1 of what's going to be a 3-part conversation, because when you've been married for 50 years, you have so much great advice to give. Join us back for part 2 on Monday. See you then.